Invincible.
Mm-hmm. Episode 4.
One episode.
I saw people complaining on the internet,
Oh, I'm not surprised.
and it took every fibre of my being not to track them down, knock on their front door, slap them in the face, and say, "You're everything that's wrong with the world."
I will say, going from a 3-episode launch into 1 episode, I would have. It's quite the slam on the brakes a bit. 2 episodes into them weekly, it kind of feels fine, and we enjoy that. I do think the 3 into 1 was a bit abrupt, but honestly, I'm happy to have 1 a week. We've been saying it. Don't get me wrong. If a show's there to binge, I will binge it. It's just who I am. I'm also fine because I'm used to it with animes. Like when new ones are coming out, you have to wait a week for an episode, and
it's part of the fun. It
makes you sit on it. So I am kind of glad that they're doing that. Also, will mean this doesn't feel like we just blast through this season, and we've got what? Really, we're at the end of the season 3 again already.
Wait an entire year for a show. You're only going to get 10 episodes, and they get rid of them in 3 weeks. So you're like, right. So what was the point?
I loved, and we'll jump around obviously as we do. Mm-hmm. This like theme they're setting of when Mark starts having a bit of fun and getting lucky, narrator pops in and goes, "We're off to Alan."
So here's the thing: you claim it was just 1 episode. It was 2 episodes. It was
true.
2 shorter episodes.
It was 2 halves.
Yeah.
No, it was. Yeah.
It was a very cool episode. I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed the way they did a non-traditional A and B story. Normally you cut between the two. In this they went, here is A story, there is B story, done.
And also playing that off as like, oh, we legally at this rating can't show you that, so we're going to go to the B story now.
However, if anyone wants to see that, I do have a link for another place you can see the full uncut.
Oh, no.
I'm sure it exists. I haven't actually found it, but it's out there. But yeah, so it was quite funny to see the people from episode 1 who had stolen the Declaration of Independence.
We thought they would be back later.
Essentially kidnap Mark.
Yeah.
I did find it funny when we find out what they were hoping to use the Declaration of Independence for, though.
Yes. When
we thought the ink had magic powers.
I mean, when you get this story of like this idea that Earth's now been under the rule of this like undying king, he's gone like mad, he's killing everyone. We're trying to rise, like, and it's been years. They've probably stumbled across that in some. It's like someone in the future stumbling across Twitter, and it's someone just making a sarcastic post like, "Oh, yeah, people, if you just use the ink from the Declaration of Independence, it will kill whoever's in charge." Yeah. And they've seen that and gone, "Oh shit, we've got to try this." Like, no context to what that's from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you expect it to be immortal?
Yes. The second they said he's been in charge forever, I was like, okay, it's immortal.
So in my head, because we knew we were in like a different universe.
Just the future.
Oh, see, I took it as a multiverse. So my brain was like...
This is just the future. One universe, different times.
Well, that's where I misunderstood. And because my brain went, is this Omni-Man? In another universe where then he's... Or is this Mark's gone like mad over the years? Because he's just lived forever defending Earth.
The reason I didn't think it was going to be Mark was purely because they would have like recognized him to an extent.
Yeah, I get you.
Omni-Man was an option, but it was the fact that they were like, he's the Undying. I'm like, well, that's just like a synonym for immortal. That was my least surprising outcome. I didn't definitely know it was going to be immortal.
Yeah, I get you.
But I was like, immortal won't surprise me here. I did like the way they played with the notion of him living that long, though.
Yes, and once again had us questioning our morals about...
This show is kicking the fuck out.
Mark having to deal with the fact of this. I know this person currently, and he's done so much good for Earth. I can't pick that. My brain can't understand that he would have then done so much evil that he deserves to be murdered by me. and like that moral dilemma of he wants to go, but I don't think that's the right outcome for him.
He's begging me to kill him, but I don't want to kill him. What's the right thing to do?
Yeah, and unfortunately, him eventually forcing his hand to do it. The obviously brutal that he just rips his head off, and those two twins are like, "Oh, wasn't expecting it to be that way, but okay." And
I enjoy the running gag that Immortal loses his head all the time.
yeah, and then Mark says, "Keep those apart because he will just grow back together." uh, it was an interesting like how would that go if Mark left him in like someone who is even we've already seen he's kind of like this not purely good, like he's more neutral.
Yeah, he's trying his best to do
Yeah.
what he thinks is right, but he's willing to make hard decisions.
Yes. And then we got to see how that might play out for a future.
I think the biggest, most interesting part of that was finding out that he called Mark the Emperor.
Yes.
And that he was like, you asked me to do it. I trusted you. You're a good friend. I thought you'd come back. Why did you never come back? You asked too much of me. I know you're brilliant and fantastic, but I can't do this. I'm not you. Because you can take that as two ways. You can take that as like Mark, like, is such a good hero that the universe goes, he should lead us, which sounds insane and highly unlikely.
Yeah.
Or does Mark go a dark path? But also, as we know, time is in flux in the Invincible universe, sorry. So, like Eve said, that future isn't you.
No.
So don't worry about it. Which is a very difficult thing to do, isn't it? If you were to go to the future and you were to find out that you become the Emperor, you leave someone in charge and they kill everyone, you will feel responsible, but it's not your decision to make yet.
No. And anything you do could change that path.
Has done this. Yeah, a future you's already done this. So maybe you have to do this. Maybe you don't have a choice. Maybe because of the notion of time travel, free will doesn't actually exist because what you've already done already has to happen for that to be the future.
Yeah. It gets techie.
Messy quickly. Don't fuck with time travel.
I love the little time loop of he's like, oh, is there somewhere I can ditch my clothes? And he appears and takes them because that's the moment when he's leaving and he needs his clothes back. That was a really little fun little.
I also saw a funny edit of it's like Mark getting kidnapped from Eve's point of view. And if you look, her turning her head does sync up literally with the last shot you see of her. So he literally is instantaneously returned.
Yeah, well, time travel for you.
Very, very cool. I enjoyed that. Shout out my boy Mark. Eve is a lovely lady, and he's done a great job.
The second half of the show, we go to our lovable comedic friend Alan.
I will never not love Alan the. If Alan the Alien has 1 million fans, I am one of them.
I love that we finally got we got to see all the attempts at killing him and how it constantly kept going wrong. And this whole
the line of these guys are really bad at this.
Yeah. That whole animation of all the fight scene with the Viltrumites was so well done. That realization of Omni-Man saying goodbye, friend, being that moment of Alan's like, well, I've done enough for him to consider me a friend, so clearly I'm making headway. Even if he's not quite ready yet, I have to do something because he can't die. He's going in the right direction. I just need to save him from
force his hand a little.
Yeah. The reveal, like the kind of let on at the end, he was like, I might have played it up a little bit that I was getting bested. Which just shows how fucking strong he is.
Seth Rogen is a phenomenal casting decision for Alan the Alien. Especially in the way they decided to write him. Also, I don't know how like comedic he was in the comics. Or if they decided to dial that up a little bit because they know they had Seth. Possibly. But it's working incredibly well. Especially against like the the ideal comedy duo is always the straight man and the clown.
Yeah.
And they've got that with Omni-Man and Alan, and it's working really well.
They even got to do it with Alan and Beastman when he's like, the party's
Battle Beast, sorry.
Battle Beast, yeah. Do you want to join the party? And he's like, what is this party you speak of? Will there be killing? Will there be Viltrumites? And he's like, yeah, there's a couple of Viltrumites. Well, 3, but one of them's a friendly. And after they've been fighting the general guys, Reg is like, you've lied to me. But that whole dynamic was so funny.
Battle Beast is an interesting character. I'm curious to see how he develops.
Yeah,
he's
not
getting
dead.
a new comic. He's getting a new spin-off comic.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. I love the notion that he's just angry that there's no one willing to fight him. He doesn't fear death. It doesn't seem like he particularly wants to live. He just wants a really good fight.
Yeah, it seems like he's fought a load of people and they've just disappointed him, like a disappointed dad. So I'm like, I'd love a little... I'd happily have a side animated series where we get to see him go through those fights. And it's people being like, oh, I'm going to beat you. And he absolutely destroys them. And he's like, you've disappointed me.
Is he going to be like the power scale character for Mark? Is it going to be we see Battle Beast be this fucking boss that beats loads of powerful characters, and then eventually Mark just like one punch mans him?
Possibly. That or Alan's going to beat him, and we're going to be like, oh, Alan's like that.
Alan, that dude.
The reveal where Alan's like, shit, we need to get out of here before they come to get us, and Omni-Man was like, no, there's less than 50 purebloods. Like, they haven't got those resources. That reveal of like, oh shit, they can win this.
Mm-hmm. And if you look back at everything we've seen so far, it makes sense.
Yeah.
The most we've ever seen is 3 at a time.
Mm-hmm.
They are desperate to not kill Omni-Man.
Yeah.
They were doing everything they could to get him to come back to their side. Yeah. That's why they're willing to accept Mark, who's only half.
Yes.
Because he's close enough that they deem it acceptable, which doesn't seem very Viltrumite-like unless they're struggling for numbers. Like, when you look at what we've seen, it makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it absolutely is a case of, this is winnable. If you play it smart, Mark, Nolan, Alan, and Battle Beast.
Yeah.
As long as they don't try and take on like more than 6 Viltrumites at a time, they can kind of get it done.
I mean, there's 2 options, right? They either all group up on Earth. Battle Beast probably won't want to because they get bored. There's not enough people to fight. But like the other 3, the Viltrumites are unlikely to send more than 1 or 2 at a time to Earth to try and get control of it. They're not going to put their whole force on one planet because they can't afford to.
And also, Earth is just... It's not like in this show they've given any reason for Earth to be a particularly important planet.
So it's like they could just play defense and probably be able to fight off every single Viltrumite that comes and then know that, okay, Earth's safe because we've just fought them all off. If they want to push at them, then yeah, they've got to be a bit more careful and not take on too many because they could screw themselves. We've also got to know Omni-Man doesn't know that Alan's like leader is a Viltrumite that left.
Yeah.
So technically there could be 1 or 2 that are on that side. So that it's even less than 50 because Omni-Man doesn't fully know how many are actually still alive and still part of it.
We know Omni-Man is definitely one of the more powerful Viltrumites based on the way they spoke about him.
Yes, and he's has been around.
I do wonder, like, I'm aware of some of the names of some that are to come. I'm very curious about how badass some of these
are compared to Omni-Man.
Mm-hmm. Because like this entire show seems to be, for better or worse, so far I think it's for better, a power scaling pissing contest.
Yeah.
But they're doing it in a very entertaining way, so I don't have an issue with it. I am very curious to see where that develops going forward. And not having a clear picture because I've not read the comics.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm good to finish Compendium 1 now, though, based on what I'm seeing online. So I might finish the one I have got.
Yeah.
I think we're in a very fun spot where shit's going to get quite wild. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see some of the battles, some of the issues we come to face. The characters develop and change a lot by the sounds of it. And, like, I'm not sure if Season 3 is supposed to encompass what is known as the Invincible War, or if that's going to be, like, happening as Season 3 ends and Season 4 is going to be more of the Invincible War or what.
Got you.
But that, I think, is, like, the next big thing that we're waiting for.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very curious to see how insane that gets. But actual, like, what is happening on Earth story progression was very minimal this week.
Yeah, you got the... Mark went to the Pentagon and Cecil to be like, just beat his way in. And it's like, why are you watching me? He's like, well, if we were watching you, you wouldn't know. So Mark leaves and they're like, but we are watching him. And Cecil's like, yeah, but that's not us. Who the fuck is that? Because even they're like, who the fuck is watching the person that we're watching?
I've got to be honest, even though after last week's episode I was sympathetic to Cecil, but I was more anti-Cecil than anything else.
Uh-huh.
That interaction got me more on Cecil's side, because he handled that like a fucking champ.
Yeah.
And then he went, holy shit, that was a terrifying way to start the day. And I'm like, you know what? That is based as fuck. You are absolutely right.
That's also kind of like, let's be honest, Mark he's not fully rage mode. That was just him pissed in the moment, like, went there to get answers. He wasn't going to go there and absolutely, but like, they barely stopped him.
Mark needs to, like, I love Mark, I do. He's being a dickhead.
Well,
because he's like not understanding from other people's point of view how terrifying he is.
Yeah, he's being a teenager into early 20s, like,
yeah,
thinks they understand the world, but they don't understand the world.
he wants Cecil to trust him and leave him alone, which is fair. He can go, Cecil, I don't want you to be involved. But when Cecil's job is to protect the Earth, and he is that's literally his job, and you are powerful enough to flatten the Earth, you storming in there and blowing shit up.
Well, that's the other thing. He's like, I don't want you controlling me anymore. I'm not working for you. And then he smashes his way into the Pentagon, and you're like, what do you fucking expect? How do you expect him to respond to you doing this?
I get why he's pissed at Cecil, and he does have valid reasons to be pissed at Cecil. But just being as simple as calling him on the phone going, I caught this thing spying on us. What the fuck is it? Is it you? If it is you, we have problems. Do not fucking lie to me.
Or just go to the Pentagon and don't bust your way in. Just
like, I'd like to see Cecil
drop the thing and be like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah. Like, there's ways to do it. He's being a bit of a petulant child.
I think,
and I get it. I do get it. But
and I
for the love of God, Mark,
the story is Oliver's going to see him doing this, and I think it's Oliver's going to start copying him, but obviously not know the limit of when to stop. And that's going to make Mark go, he's learnt that from me. Like, I am fucking up. And that's going to be that. I think that's going to be the moment of where he checks himself and is like, oh shit, I am doing this wrong.
It kind of makes you ask yourself the question, does it? Are you really a hero if the people you're saving are scared of you?
Yeah.
And when Mark gets to that point where even the random citizens he's saving are terrified of him, are you even a hero at that point?
It's basically being Omni-Man.
However, he's dating Atom Eve, so he's winning.
I mean, I'm wrong. I like the idea that they're going to get their own place, that she's probably going to build.
Yeah, like, I can't get over the intelligence of the writing, and I assume it came from the comics. It wasn't randomly added in for this. The notion that, yes, her power's allowed to create anything, but because she doesn't fundamentally understand solid buildings and piping and electrical and stuff, they're not sound.
Well, yeah, the best thing she's built is a tree house. Yeah. Because that's pretty simple. Everyone could probably visualize a tree house structurally.
So she's going to learn how to do that. I'm like, that is such a cool concept. And when you consider in her special, it was made very clear that the only thing stopping her doing it with organic matter is like a mental limitation. Yeah. Does that mean, yes, she could create life if she wanted to, but it would be a fucked up, horrific, like
Until she's done a biology class.
Eldritch horror, because she wouldn't give it the right amount of lungs and like bones for support and shit.
Yeah, maybe
she'd give it an exoskeleton. She'd
not put her in
she'd give it an
therapy.
exoskeleton, but make it 80 foot tall, and like, as anyone who's done any level of biology knows, something that big can't support an exoskeleton, so she creates it and it just fucking crumbles in on itself.
Yeah, let's maybe not put her in therapy to work past that block. Maybe not.
Like, insanity, but yeah, really, really cool. I'm loving every second of it. I got a feeling
I think
next week's episode is going to be, the episode that's going to come out as this episode's come out is going to be fucking wild, because that episode, in the grand scheme of the world, was relatively chill.
It
had some big revelations, but nothing too insane happened. And I'm just like, oh, are they about to whammy us with like an Oliver death or whatever?
Oh, possibly.
I don't know. I'm
Oliver
just
going
saying,
too far or something. Yeah.
I don't know how long Oliver is around for.
Yeah, we don't know how long like this arc of Mark being like super aggro is going to be.
Yeah, and I guess part of the thing as well is obviously his mother's species don't like live for like a year or whatever it was.
Yeah, so he's going to age rapid.
Yeah, but also because of the Viltrumite DNA, he lives longer. So what is his life expectancy? Does anyone have any implication? Because if he lives to 16, that's like 16 times his normal lifespan.
Yeah.
Which the Viltrumite DNA could explain.
Yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see, don't we?
Do you know what I mean? Like, this is what I'm trying to gauge. Because he's aging faster, but that makes sense. But is he just going to get to like maturity and just stay that way for 400 years, or is he going to live his entire life in like 20 years instead?
I don't know.
And just become like supreme god powerful.